Hallucination. Okay, so I was watching this YouTube video that I just showed you a moment ago, and I mean, she's like, I don't know, 7, maybe 8, and she's making these loop bracelets, like the rubber band fun loops, whatever they call them, the rainbow bracelets. And I'm like, I saw it when I was eating my breakfast this morning. I was like, it should be easy, right? It's not. And I was doing it with mine. The lens cap's wiggling. I was doing it with mine right here. And I make this one. And just make a chain. Oh, 3 days grace, 1X logo. And she's just like, and she makes one. And I'm sitting here struggling for like 2 hours straight. Am I just so stupid that like a little kid can do it that much easier than me? It's weird. I give up. I'm just gonna do the single ones. We're getting ready to go to my sister's pre-op visit at the hospital. She's having open heart surgery next Monday. It won't be that bad.
Yes, it will.
This visit won't be bad. Okay, so I disassembled the Snowblower. It's a Toro S200. This is my grandmother's. It didn't really run. Like, you get it started, it run for a couple seconds, that'd be it. Took it apart. Got a can of carb cleaner from my dad. And I've been working on it for about 2 hours now. Took it down to the engine block. Got the crankshaft and everything out. Have to put the bearings back together. The pulleys, the exhaust, everything's come off. The pull start's right there. The electric start's there. The cooler's there, and the ignition system is right there. Everything's a mess. And then up here on the bench, I'm in the middle of making new gaskets because gaskets were destroyed in pulling the engine apart because it's 30 years old. Here's a carburetor that I get to rebuild in a few minutes. I have to disassemble it, clean it completely, and reassemble it, then dial it in. We'll see how it goes. This is going to be a short vlog, but some neat stuff in it. Okay, so this is the carburetor and bolt assembly to go right onto the side of the engine block. Right in here, there's a gasket, and when I disassembled the engine, that tore. The gasket that was on here tore, and the gasket that's right here tore. So I took this piece of gasket paper and proceeded to trim out gaskets, which there are 2 in here right now. I made one for right here, one for right here. Going to have to make one for the bottom end of the engine right here. This one stayed intact right here. So did this one up on the head. Those are good. The exhaust manifold one is good enough. This is where those other 2 go. One right here, one right there. And that's it. More in a couple minutes when I put it all together. Okay, so you probably noticed there's a lot less parts over here now. I finished bolting the crankshaft back in. Put the bearings back together for right here and in here on the bottom of the cylinder. Greased the other side. Tapped the shaft back in, or actually it's the crankshaft. Put the side plate back on. Made a new gasket for right here because the old one was destroyed. Here's the new one. got the reed valve back in right here, and I'm putting on the carb mount right now, which will then bolt the carburetor back on. And then you get to bolt the head back on, the exhaust manifold, and it's done. You get to bolt it, and then it just bolts right back into Snowblower. Okay, so I got the head bolted on, got the spark plug in, carburetor's on, side plates on, put the, I don't even know what that is, it looks almost like a bearing shield or something, don't know what it's called. Put the bottom plate on, crankshaft's in, the exhaust manifold's not bolted on yet because that's like the last step, like after the motor's bolted into the Snowblower. The reed valve is bolted in right here. Next step is the ignition system. Okay, so I just got the ignition system all put back in, plugged back into the spark plug. This is the throttle governor. As the engine needs more throttle, if it's feeling it's choked, it will automatically pull on this via the exhaust, which comes out of a little hole right up in here. This throttle governor is on the throttle itself right here, attached to a spring from the other side, which attaches to a piece of the frame. That's it. A lot more parts on it than were earlier. Okay, so I have the electric start bolted on. Didn't put the middle clip on the wire on the motor yet, but I got the whole clutch. It looks like a clutch. It's really the bolt for the pull start and the fan and the electric start pulley type thing. The gear right here for the electric start to kick against. Got that all on. Next, I get to bolt that piece on right there. And then that motor drops in right here, bolts onto the fuel tank bracket. That piece right there, bolt the end of the pull start bolts onto right near the fuel tank. Then the motor bolts on right there in those 4 holes. If I seem tired, it's 11:30 right now. I've been doing this since 2:30 in the afternoon, except for like 2 hours while I went to church. A lot of tools. And I'm playing Dido. Okay, so I got the clutch assembly for the pull start on. Wires are all there. Primer, carburetor, the heads, or the head, because it's only a single cylinder, spark plug, the electric start, the bearings, everything except for the exhaust manifold is on the motor. A lot less parts than there were earlier, that's for sure. It's all tools over there. Bolted in there. Okay, so I got the engine bolted in, whole side panels bolted in. Basically, I could drop fuel in it and start it right now. And that, I don't believe is the actual top for it because it pushes on the fuel tank and the fuel tank won't fit. Right now, it's 1:15 in the morning, and almost done cleaning up. There's just a couple tools laying about. Long freaking day working on this thing, but hopefully it'll run. Good night.